President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed members of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. The body was first announced during the 2021 State of the Nation address. The president says the 9-member council will help strengthen the fight against graft through executive oversight roles on key legislative and policy mandates. It will further advise on the effective implementation on government's national anti-corruption strategy. The council will be headed by Professor Firoz Cachalia, with other members including Advocate Nokuzola Khumalo, Thandeka Gqubule-Mbeki and Barbara Schreiner. Well, for more on the story, we're joined by the Anti-Corruption Advisory Council's Nkosana Dolopi. Mr. Dolopi, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Of course, a long-awaited announcement. It's, it was in last year's State of the Nation address that the president made this commitment. Now that you've finally been put together, what are the directives you've been given? Mr. Dolopi, not sure if you can hear me.
Okay, Katie, I missed the first part of it.
So I was asking, what are the directives that you've been given by the president now that he's finally been able to constitute this council?
Look, the main thing is to address a serious challenge that we are facing as a country, which is corruption. And we know that corruption has caused so much pain in our country. I mean, you can talk about unemployment, you can talk about poverty, you can talk about inequality that we are facing in our country. All those, there's no way you can talk about those in our country without linking them to the pain caused by corruption. So we have to assist now to mobilize the entire society, because it can't only be the 9 of us who will be able to work towards ending corruption. We will have to make sure that we mobilize the entire society, the entire country, from all the sectors, whether it be from labor, where I'm coming from business, government. The entire civil society ought to be mobilized such that we attend to the pain inflicted by corruption to society on a daily basis. I mean, the question of people losing jobs when people steal money, the question of people dying in the hospitals while somebody is stealing money, the question of us not being able to appoint more teachers, more nurses, more police, because somebody in the country would have stolen money. The question maybe of public servants now struggling to get their payments, their increases paid, because some people elsewhere would have stolen money. So I think the effort will be to build on a momentum that seems to be growing now in our country. Make sure that all those caught stealing money, there's consequent management around that.
It's a huge undertaking, Mr. Dolopi. How are you going to go about doing that? Again, also being aware of the fact that there are very different means and perhaps even when we look at our criminal justice framework, if we had police doing the investigations, the NPA, the Hawks, making sure that people are arrested, the fight against corruption would become easier, because there would at least be consequences for the actions that people are taking. As it stands, there are difficulties. So it's not so much that we don't know the corruption that is taking place, it's that even when we know, even when it is exposed, nothing is done about it. And I wonder if there's any role that you can play where that is concerned, because ultimately, we're talking about people who are breaking the law and getting away with it.
Maybe I might not agree with you when you put up to public now, I believe that nothing is being done. Maybe I could agree with you if you could phrase it differently, that not enough is being done. But let's not say nothing is being done. at least today, I followed your own channel. When a few senior managers, former managers, the Transnet appeared in court. And we have seen this now for some time in our country, where senior people, leaders in society, appearing in court. So we are saying that might not be enough, but at least there is a start. There is a momentum that we are establishing as a country. And we will have to ride on that momentum to say that it will not be the 9 of us only. It will not be the police, the Hawks, NPA only. It must be an effort of the entire society. KT must know that when his son comes home and brings something, all of a sudden you see him driving big few cars, changing them all the time. Because you know that he's not working, he's not having a company, or his company is small. The mother, KT, must stand up and start asking the difficult questions as to how did you secure that.
Yeah, but
we should be among the first line of defense of our country and say, how do we make sure that from the level of home, we start engaging and attending to all areas that we are suspecting to be wrong areas. That's why I'm saying it's not a police matter, it's not the 9 of us only, it's not the government only, it's the private sector in its entirety. The entire country must stand up and work with us to make sure that we arrest as a collective the challenge of corruption.
Mr. Dolopi, in fairness, though, it's great to have people appearing in court, but it's still a long way from convictions to date. We don't have any convictions that have been linked with state capture, and that is at the heart of the problem.
And that is what we must push for as the appointed people, is to make sure that there is conviction, is to make sure that we push even harder, to make sure that when processes start in court, they must have an end. It must not be an unending kind of process. So I think it will be among our tasks as a team to make sure that we put pressure on those entrusted with responsibility to charge and follow people in court, to ultimately get them to suffer or pay for the crime that they have committed. But in doing that, we must avoid shortcuts. We must make sure that we are thorough, and we make sure that those found guilty are ultimately found, those who are charged are ultimately found guilty. Because it won't assist us, Katie, to say that we quickly want these people to get to jail, but we don't build strong cases against them. We don't have enough facts to be able to follow and lose many of the cases as we are moving forward. So let's strengthen the NPA, let's strengthen the Hawks, let's strengthen the police, let's get society, those who have information, to also assist the police with information, to strengthen their cases, and then when we go in prosecution, we are definitely sure that we'll win these cases.
How can we do that with honesty if we hear the stories of the likes of Martha Ngoya who've been shunned out by public and private institutions simply because of speaking out against corrupt activity, and she's not the only one?
Society must stand up. Society must say enough is enough. We will not have a situation where Dolopi is alleged to have stolen money and nothing is done against Dolopi. Time has arrived, Katie, that in as much as we are appointed, like I said, we are only 9 people appointed. In as much as we have institutions of government established to attend to these issues there, we as society can't fold our arms and say we'll be waiting for them to get things done. When we see that they are slow in attending to some of these issues, society must be the first to stand up and go to the police, go to NPA, and say you are taking too long to address these challenges. So it's a collective effort, Katie. It might be difficult, it might be slow, but it's something that all South Africans will have to work together and make sure that all those who would have stolen from the public purse, all those who are stealing our jobs, all those who are causing death of people in hospitals, all those who makes it impossible for us to appoint more police, more teachers, more nurses, more social workers, more doctors,
All right.
or to pay for that crime. And like I'm saying, we have to work together with the 9 of us working with government and put all those who are doing the work under pressure such that our country is rid of corruption.
Well, one hopes there will also be greater political will and support for people who have actually done that and are going currently unsupported and unprotected, having to fend for themselves, despite the fact that they were doing the right thing. That is the Anti-Corruption Advisory Council's Nkosana Dolopi.